Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Marie Herman, CAPOM, and I own MRH Enterprises, LLC, which I use for writing, training, and leading study groups. I am so honored to be here today for Executive Secretary Magazine's new AdminChat webinar series. Today, I'll be showing you how to do a personal SWOT analysis. Thank you so much for joining me today. Many of us are familiar with the concept of a SWOT analysis for our companies. This part of the strategic planning process reviews and critiques the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats facing the company. However, many of us have never applied this process to our own personal and professional development. This is an extremely useful exercise, so I want to take some time today to show you how to conduct a personal SWOT analysis. We're going to cover today what a SWOT analysis actually is, how it's related to strategic planning, and then I'm going to have you do one. I've put together a handout that I've included with this presentation to help you go along and fill out the various quadrants yourself and apply everything that we learn immediately. I want to let you know of a great website where I got a lot of the inspiration for this presentation. It's http://www.bplans.com. It's a really useful website, and I encourage you to check it out and learn more about strategic planning. A SWOT analysis is just one step in the process of creating a strategic plan. Existing businesses can use a SWOT analysis at any time to assess a changing environment and respond proactively to it. Most people don't really stop to think about doing a SWOT analysis on a personal level, though. This is your opportunity to match your personal strengths and weaknesses with any external opportunities and threats that are out there in the marketplace. And we're going to talk about some specific examples from each one of the corners of these quadrants today. So, who does the SWOT? Well, to get really comprehensive results, a SWOT analysis is best conducted with assistance from other people. So think about asking your peers, your boss, your friends, your spouse, your family, your mentors, and others to weigh in with their perspectives. But I want to caution you, people don't want to hurt your feelings, and so they may not be completely honest with you, and that's really not helpful. We are not doing ourselves any favors if we only ask people for positive feedback. If they won't give us helpful critiquing, then really this exercise won't help us as much as it could. So I do encourage you to put on a thick skin and go out there and ask for honest feedback from those that you know and love, and tell them that you really do want to get their insights into what your best qualities are and what your weaknesses are. So you're going to start with brainstorming. You're going to hold a brainstorming session to identify the factors that go into each one of those four categories: the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. An alternative way you could do this would be to ask team members to individually complete a SWOT analysis and then meet to discuss and compile the results. And as you work through each category, don't be too concerned about getting an elaborate long list. Bullet points might be the best way to begin. Just capture the factors that you believe are relevant in each one of those areas. And once you finish brainstorming, then you can create a final prioritized version of your SWOT analysis, listing out the factors in each category in order of highest priority at the top to lowest priority at the bottom. As we're looking at strengths are internal. So think reputation, skills, education. You can change them over time, but not without some work. Strengths are the internal positive attributes that are going to describe your tangible and intangible qualities. These are within your control. So think about, what do you do well? What internal resources do you have? Think about the positive attributes like knowledge, background, your education, your credentials, your network, your reputation, your skills. Think about the tangible assets that you have. How much money do you have in the bank? Do you have credit cards if you needed them? What kind of equipment do you have? Are you set up at home with computers and with all of the high-speed internet that you might need if you wanted to do something as, say, a home-based business, for example? Do you have any existing customers? Do you have any patents? Do you have any technology? Think of every possible advantage that you have intangible assets, anything that you can use to your advantage to stand out over your competition. And you might be wondering, well, competition, I work for a company. What's my competition? But you know what? You have competition. It could be your coworkers who are being considered for a promotion that you're interested in. It could be that you want to go out and work for yourself and start your own business. There's always competition out there, no matter what your position is. So always be thinking about how you can put yourself in the best light, how you can show your assets off better to other individuals, whether it's your boss or potential customers, and really think about what the positive aspects are that add value or offer you a competitive advantage. So think about the things that make you unique and that help you stand out in a crowded field. And like I said, that could be coworkers, that could be potential job candidates for your next job. There's any number of areas of opportunity for competitors. So some examples that you might think about with strengths. You might say, I am well organized. I speak more than one language. I have a college degree in business. I have an outgoing personality. I have a strong knowledge of Microsoft Office. I know first aid. I can type 90 words a minute. I'm comfortable speaking in public. I've worked in the medical field or the legal field or some other unique specialty field. I know how to create databases. All of these kinds of statements are examples of strengths. You have your own individual strengths. And you may find as you're putting together these lists that there is some overlap between them. Something that could be a strength can also be a weakness. You'll find that very often our strengths and our weaknesses are on a spectrum. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the weaknesses. So at this time, I would like you to pause this presentation and take a few moments to write down your strengths. As I mentioned earlier, I've included a handout that you can download to go with this presentation that will help you record all your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats, plus how you can mix those up and come up with a great solution for yourself for a specific niche and a great way to stand out. Weaknesses. Weaknesses are aspects that detract from either the value you offer or that place you at a competitive disadvantage. You need to enhance these areas in order to compete with your best competitor. Or at the very least, you need to minimize their impact on your life and your career. So think about what factors that are within your control detract from your ability to obtain or maintain a competitive edge. What areas need improvement to accomplish your objectives or compete with your strongest competitor? What do you lack? Do you lack expertise in a certain program? Do you not have access to certain skills or technology? And what are your limiting resources? Maybe you have no vehicle. Maybe your health is poor. What is it that limits you in your life? And what can you do to mitigate those weaknesses or to overcome them? So some examples of weaknesses, things that might hold you back or prevent you from getting a job. It could be things like, I'm egotistical. I tend to procrastinate. I don't know how to use crystal reports. I'm weak on macros in Microsoft Office. I'd like to learn those better. I have no marketing skills. I lack accounting experience. I'm uncomfortable with change. I'm too shy in social situations. Now, note this analysis can be done for a very specific purpose, like preparing for your next promotion or starting a new business. So then you can look at your strengths and your weaknesses specifically as they pertain to the specific goal that you are working towards. So if you are thinking about starting a new business, you can think of your strengths and weaknesses very much in the context of starting that business. What am I going to need in order to be successful with my business? What am I going to have to overcome in order to be successful in my business? And I mentioned earlier that most strengths and weaknesses are points on a spectrum. They essentially match like bookends. So the strength of confidence can easily become the weakness of cockiness under different circumstances. It's up to you to decide if a certain quality is a strength or a weakness, and to recognize that the decision may change depending on the unique situation. It's also important to consider that other people may have a different opinion on whether certain qualities are positive or negative. So, for example, one of the best qualities of the best administrative professionals is our ability to keep our bosses on track. But with one boss, us keeping them on track might translate to nagging, while someone else would say, "You are the wind beneath my wings that really keeps me going." Very much depends on the recipient's viewpoint. It could be the same action. The regular reminders of you're supposed to be at a certain place at a certain time with these materials in your hand. And some people will be more receptive to that than others. Your quality hasn't changed. Their reaction to your quality has changed. And so again, it can be a strength to one and a weakness to others. Keep that in mind when you're getting feedback from the other people as to what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you repeatedly hear that something is a weakness that you consider a strength, then maybe you need to start thinking about how it's being perceived by other people and recognize that maybe it's not as much of a strength as you think, and it might be something you need to dial back on a little bit. On the other hand, this is where it's important to be careful who you ask as well, and how valuable is their feedback. Feedback from a boss, for example, may be more valuable than feedback from a spouse when it comes to workplace qualities. So you're going to have to balance all of those factors as you're putting together these lists and really come up with something that makes sense for you. So please pause this presentation and take a few moments to write down your weaknesses. Opportunities. Opportunities and threats are external. So think big things like the economy, the competitors out there, your company's stability. They're out there in the market and they're happening whether you like it or not. You can't change them. Only by identifying them ahead of time can we take steps to be prepared for potential opportunities and mitigate the damage of threats. This is another area where your answer may appear on both lists, as threats often open up new opportunities. For example, on the company level, robotics and technology could be a threat to workers' jobs. But they're also an opportunity for new types of jobs. Somebody needs to design and build and install and provide training on and maintenance on those machines. Somebody needs to do all that. So always step back to look at the bigger picture and kind of detect the silver lining of those threat clouds. By being open to those possibilities and actively looking for the opportunities threats may bring, you're going to greatly expand your options and improve your attitude toward change. So, questions to ask yourself. What opportunities exist in the market or out in the environment that you could benefit from? Is the perception of you in the workplace positive? Has there been recent market growth, or have there been other changes in the market that create an opportunity? Is the opportunity ongoing, or is there just a window for it? In other words, how critical is your timing? So some examples of opportunities that you might encounter, it would be things like changes in laws, the economy, political changes, company management changes, geography, environment, other people, industry trends, overall life changes. All of those kinds of things are opportunities. So some things you might look at more specifically, people at work are nearing retirement age. Does that mean there could be some promotion opportunities opening up for you if you are ready when they become available? The internet, that has opened up the possibility of finding customers worldwide. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to create your own business if you wanted to be an entrepreneur. Your company is opening a new division. There's new companies opening up in the area. Technology could let you work from home. Changes in certain laws provide opportunities to start a new business to help companies address those changes. Training and leadership development could make you eligible for a promotion. There's a need for a particular skill that you have. The population is aging. All of these are examples of opportunities out there if you can only think of a way to match up your strengths with those opportunities. So I'd like you to pause this presentation and take a few moments to write down on that handout the opportunities that are facing you. And so just a reminder, as you're putting together those lists, you should be identifying factors from your financial circumstances, physical resources like the computer equipment that you already own, natural resources, current processes that you're following, market trends, economic trends, demographics, relationships that you have, politics, and more. All of that's on the table. All of that is a potential opportunity. Threats. Threats are external. They can be really big external forces like the economy, social, cultural, demographic, political, government, legal, technology, the competitive things that are going on out there. Threats are the external issues that could derail our efforts. They are beyond your control and they can place you at risk. You have no control over the threats, but you might benefit by having contingency plans to address them if they should occur. So the questions you should be asking yourself: who are your existing or potential competitors? What are the factors beyond your control that could place your job at risk? Are there challenges created by an unfavorable trend or a development that might lead to deteriorating stability at your company or a loss of income for you? What situations might threaten your efforts? What about shifts in consumer behavior, the economy, or government regulations that could impact your job? Has a new product or technology been introduced that makes your skills or services obsolete? So, an example of how you could kind of look at this is to consider a threat. It could be, for example, you decide that you are going to potentially lose your job. And so you want to go out and you get in the gig economy, you're going to get a side hustle. Maybe it's going to be driving for Uber or Lyft or something of that nature. Well, that was an opportunity for you, the fact that these existed, Uber and Lyft and whatnot. But if you were doing a SWOT analysis, you would also step back and look at this and say, well, what could threaten that future income? One example could be the development of driverless cars. Those could make it obsolete to have drivers for Uber at some point in time. That's a long-term picture that you plan ahead for. And so if that were your primary source of income, relying on driving, for example, thinking about what's coming down the line that could negate the need for my services can help you start planning ahead. Okay, how can I prepare for that? What skills am I going to need? What else could I do to prevent it from being an issue? How can I diversify my income? What else is out there that I could do instead, so that even if this goes away, it's not 100% of my income. Maybe it's only 20% of my income that's going away. So that's one of the ways you'll look at these opportunities and threats. You also could consider things like virtual assistants, the rise of virtual assistants. This is a huge factor in our industry. We know that more and more companies are going to consider using virtual assistants instead of having in-house staff. There are advantages for the companies of doing so by reducing their expenses, hiring someone only for the number of hours that they need them, being able to hire people from all over the world, which means they can also hire them from countries with a much lower cost of living, and so potentially much less expensive than local workers. There's a lot of factors that go into that decision, but there's no question there's growing opportunities for anyone who wanted to start a virtual assistant business. There's also threats to starting a virtual assistant business in terms of the competition that's out there from countries that have a lower cost of living, for example. That doesn't mean, though, that you can't take steps to differentiate yourself, to maybe create a niche for yourself as a virtual assistant, that perhaps you are going to focus specifically on supporting authors who are writing books. And so you're going to help them with the whole process of actually the typing and typesetting of the book, the promotion of the book, the marketing of the book, the sales of the book, the fulfillment. All of that could become a specialty niche for you. And then it becomes much easier to charge more money because you have specialized skills. And it also makes it more likely that people will seek you out because you'll stand out from your competition in that situation. That's one example of how you can look at these different threats. So some examples of threat statements that you could include on your analysis. The economy could be unstable. I don't know if we're on the brink of a recession or not. The company could close. I could lose my job. My spouse could lose their job. The laws could change that maybe have a direct impact on me. My industry may be in decline. Something I rely on for income might be going away or changing. There could be a natural disaster. There's competition in this field. I could get medical issues. Something could happen to my health. My income is all from one source. Those would all be examples of different threats that we might face. So I'd like you to pause this presentation and take a few moments to write down your specific threats. And again, you can do this in the context of a specific goal that you're working towards. So if it's working towards your next promotion, think about what is the threat that could prevent you from getting that promotion. How can you overcome that? That's what this is going to be working towards. A TOES analysis. This is where you develop strategies from your SWOT analysis. So once you have identified your SWOT quadrants, you can use them to develop a plan for your career. You might identify areas of training that you need to prepare for a promotion or launch that new business. You might research the opportunities to see if there's merit to moving to a different company, to starting a different job, to transitioning to a different industry entirely, to creating your own business. So once you have identified and prioritized your SWOT results, then you can use them to develop both short-term and long-term strategies for your career. After all, the true value of this exercise is in using the results to maximize the positive influences on your life and minimize the negative ones. So how do you turn your SWOT results into strategies? One way to do this is to consider how your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats overlap with each other. This is sometimes called a TOES analysis. For example, look at the strengths that you identified and then come up with ways to use those strengths to maximize the opportunities. These are called strength opportunity strategies. Then look at those same strengths and think about how they can be used to minimize the threats that you identified. Those are strength threat strategies. Continuing this process, you're going to use the opportunities you identified to develop strategies that will minimize your weaknesses, the weakness opportunity strategies, or to avoid the threats, the weakness threat strategies. So here's a nice little table that summarizes these 4 quadrants: strength opportunity strategies, strength threat strategies, weakness opportunity strategies, weakness threat strategies. And although I've listed them here as in your company context, these work in your personal context as well. What of your strengths can be used to maximize the opportunities you identified? How can you use your strengths to minimize the threats you identified? What actions can you take to minimize the company's weaknesses using the opportunities you identified? And how can you minimize your weaknesses to avoid the threats that you identified? So comparing and combining the various quadrants might highlight a unique niche for you. For example, if someone wants to start their own business and maybe they speak 2 languages and they previously worked in the legal office, they could create a virtual assistant business focused on translating legal documents. If you have several years of experience as an admin or, say, a registered parliamentarian, and your community has a good business base with lots of hotels and a convention center, you might create a business focused on providing administrative support for business travelers at local hotels, or providing parliamentary services to meetings at the local convention center. Several years ago, my company was still on Office 2003, although Office 2007 had been out for more than a year. And after doing my own personal SWOT analysis, one of the areas I listed as both an opportunity and a threat was that my company would need to upgrade to Office 2007 at some point. It was an opportunity for me to showcase my leadership and my technical skills at work, and it was a threat in that I was falling behind in the marketplace with the latest version of the software. Office 2007 was an enormously different version that had a substantial learning curve. I decided to offer a free study group to learn Office 2007 to the local chapter of my professional association, since that would motivate me to learn it well enough to get certified on it. What I found interesting was the difference in attitude in some of my fellow chapter members. Many of them jumped at the chance to learn that version of Office. Others, however, said they were still on 2003 and they would wait until their offices upgraded before they learned the new software. Remember, this was a free study group that they were turning down. Fast forward a few short months. My company decided to roll out an upgrade of Office 2007 with 2 weeks' notice to all employees. Because I had prepared ahead for the software with the study group, I was able to very calmly go to my boss and offer to lead some overview sessions of the differences to help minimize the downtime of employees and reduce their frustration in learning the new version. By not waiting until the circumstances actually changed to start preparing, but instead recognizing that it was only a matter of time and that I could take steps to ease the transition, I laid the groundwork to make myself look like a shining star to my boss. And this emphasized to him that I was proactive in planning ahead and demonstrating leadership skills. That is the power of conducting a personal SWOT analysis on an annual basis. It helps you keep control of your career firmly in your hands, right where it belongs. Don't wait for opportunities to present themselves. Make them appear. And you can do that by looking at those different quadrants and thinking about the overlap between them. If you decide that you want to do something virtual assistant and you look at all the different kinds of opportunities out there, the rise of the internet, the aging population, there may be something that you can do specifically for the elderly based on your specific skill set. Another opportunity could be consolidation of industries. When you see changes in the laws, changes in the tax structure, changes in insurance, changes in whatever, think about who's going to communicate those changes. Could that be an opportunity for me to create a niche business for myself? Think about the experience that you bring to the table. What kinds of companies have you worked in? What kinds of people have you worked with? Maybe you've worked with lawyers or engineers or scientists or teachers, and those can give you unique perspective on that particular job function, which you can then use to parlay into your next promotion or your next new business. Look for these opportunities and threats and how your strengths and weaknesses tie together with them to create a truly unique niche. And that is what will help to make you bulletproof from competition. Because when you bring in your unique strengths, your unique skills, your passions into an opportunity or a threat that is out there, it can make you stand out from everything else that's going on. I love this quote that I came across, and unfortunately, I will probably butcher her name, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Actually, I don't even know if that's a man or a woman. Amaka Imani Nokazana. That is my best guess as to the name pronunciation. You have everything within you to do great things in this world. Maybe you are inspired to sing a song, write a book or poems, create art in various forms. Or you may decide to find a cure for disease, end world hunger, prevent abuse, or take a stand politically. The question is how to begin the process of fulfilling your vision. Start where you are and use the resources you have to build from there. Inspiration is what motivates you to achieve your remarkable ideas. Also, it takes time and dedication to excel to the next level. My apologies to Amaka if I have butchered the name. I do apologize for that. But that quote is so inspirational to me, and it really does speak to how you need to start with today being the first day of the rest of your life. You can do this. Create a SWOT for yourself and use it to craft the life that you are dreaming of. It will help you take the first steps to getting to that life. Thank you all for joining me for this Executive Secretary Magazine Admin Chat. I hope that you all have enjoyed learning about some of the different SWOT analysis elements, what goes into it. It's worthwhile to do this exercise once a year or so to make sure that you keep your career and your life moving in the direction that you want. If you've enjoyed this program, I hope you'll join my mailing list and discover the seminars, webinars, and study groups that I offer related to Microsoft Office and the Certified Administrative Professional exams. Please visit my website at www.mrhenterprises.com and just scroll down to the bottom of the page to sign up. I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to hearing your feedback on this presentation. Please keep coming back every week for Executive Secretary Magazine's fantastic webinars. I know the lineup is awesome for what's coming up, and you will learn something each and every